Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right in today to explore an absolutely amazing piece of biblical text. We're looking at the book of Psalms, specifically Psalm 81 in the NIV Bible. Now this text, it's packed with incredible history, awesome promises, and a really important lesson for all of us. So get comfortable, grab your imagination, and let's get started on this fantastic journey.
Okay, so before we look at the actual words on the page, I want you to close your eyes for just a second. I want you to imagine the absolute loudest, most exciting party you have ever been to. Think about it. Maybe it was a massive birthday party, a super loud parade, or a booming stadium on game day. People are cheering, the music is blasting, and you can just literally feel the excitement in the air. Well, that massive, joyful energy, that is exactly how this part of the biblical text begins. It's basically an invitation to a giant, wonderful celebration.
Section 1. The Joyful Festival, making joyful noise to him. The biblical text actually commands the people to sing for joy and shout aloud. But, exactly how were they told to make this joyful noise? The text says to begin the music. Now, they definitely didn't have electric guitars or keyboards back then. Instead, they had these completely amazing ancient instruments. The text talks about striking the timbrel, which is basically a tambourine that you shake to the beat. Then there's the melodious harp and the lyre, which make these beautiful, sparkling string sounds. And finally, they were told to sound the ram's horn at the new moon right on the exact day of their festival. Just imagine the booming, wild sound of a real ram's horn echoing through the air to kick off the party.
Section 2. The Great Rescue, how he saved his people.
So, you might be wondering, why were they throwing this massive party in the first place? What were they celebrating? Well, they were celebrating a rescue. A long time ago, the Israelites were trapped as slaves in a place called Egypt, and the text describes an amazing change that happened to them. On one side, we have Egypt's slavery. The biblical text says they had heavy burdens on their shoulders, carrying huge, heavy baskets in the boiling hot sun. But then, on the other side, we see God's freedom. The text declares, "I removed the burden from their shoulders. Their hands were set free from the basket." He literally lifted that heavy, crushing weight right off their backs.
And he didn't just quietly sneak them out either. Listen to this amazing quote right from the text. "In your distress, you called, and I rescued you. I answered you out of a thundercloud." Wow, imagine being so incredibly scared and crying out for help, and suddenly the sky gets super dark, lightning flashes everywhere, and he answers you right out of a booming thundercloud. That just shows how incredibly powerful he is and how much he wanted to protect his people when they needed him the absolute most.
But, as you'll see, the journey wasn't totally perfect after that. The text mentions a place called the Waters of Meribah. Meribah is basically just a specific place out in the desert where he tested his people. He wanted to see if they would actually trust him to provide water for them out there in the dry wilderness. It was a test of their faith, really a moment to see if they remembered the powerful God of the thundercloud.
Section 3. A serious choice. Listening to his warning.
Because he loved them so much and had just rescued them, he needed to give them a very important instruction. The text says, "If you would only listen to me, Israel, you shall have no foreign god among you. You shall not worship any god other than me. I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of Egypt." You see, he was giving them a very clear, loving rule here. He was basically saying, hey, I am the one who saved you. I am the one who loves you. Don't go bowing down to fake statues. Just stick with me. And to show them just how good it would be if they stuck with him, he gave them this really fun, wonderful promise. He said, "Open wide your mouth, and I will fill it." Have you ever seen baby birds in a nest? When the mother bird comes back, the babies throw their heads back and open their beaks super wide, completely trusting that their mom will drop food right in. That's exactly what he was telling his people to do. If they would just trust him and open wide, he promised to completely take care of them, feed them, and give them everything they truly needed.
So he rescued them from Egypt, spoke from a literal thundercloud, and promised to fill their mouths with good things. It seems like a super easy choice, right? But what do you guys think? Did the people actually listen to him?
Section 4. The stubborn hearts. Going their own way.
Well, sadly, the text tells us a very different story about what happened next. The biblical text says, "But my people would not listen to me. Israel would not submit to me." Even after all those amazing miracles, they basically said, "No thanks, we want to do things our own way." And because he doesn't force anyone to love him, the text tells us, "So I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices." Because they completely refused to listen, he stepped back. He allowed them to make their own choices, which, as we all know, usually leads to a whole lot of trouble.
Section 5. The sweet promise. Honey from the rock.
But don't worry, this text doesn't end on a sad note. He is so incredibly loving that he lays out a really simple path for them to come right back. Step 1, today, just listen to him. If my people would only listen to me. Step 2, daily, follow his ways. And what's the result of doing that? Step 3, quickly, he subdues their enemies. The text promises that if they just follow this simple path, he would quickly turn his hand against their foes and defeat the things that are trying to hurt them. He wants to be their ultimate protector.
And then we get to this beautiful, super sweet promise. He says, "But you would be fed with the finest of wheat, with honey from the rock. I would satisfy you." He doesn't just want to give them boring, plain food. He wants to give them the absolute best stuff, the finest wheat, and honey pouring right out of a rock. I mean, that sounds like a totally delicious miracle. He is saying that if we choose him, he will completely satisfy our hearts with the sweetest, most wonderful things imaginable.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've seen the joyful celebration, the crazy thundercloud rescue, and the sweet promise of honey from the rock. But it all comes down to a choice, just like the Israelites had to make back then. So I want to leave you with this question to think about. If you choose to listen to him today, what kind of joyful noise will you make to celebrate? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.